Zoe was on set that day, and she really did kind of sit there and not let us out of the room until we found something that was working.
Hi, I am Sarah Sarandos. I'm the producer of Bunny.
I'm Ben Jacobson. I wrote, directed, and I'm in the movie Bunny.
We are going behind the scenes with Collider.
Me and the guys I wrote it with, Mo and Stefan, we had been working on this for quite a number of years while bartending. I was bartending, up until a year ago. And we were just putting our scripts up at plays and little theaters and stuff. And then we started to get really serious about it. I went to go watch a friend of mine, Zoe Kravitz, make her own movie, Blink Twice in Mexico. She's a good friend of mine. She brought me down there with her. And she said, watch how people make movies. Watch how we do this. You love movies. You can just see it. Maybe you can take this. And I was able to watch. And then I was calling the guys and I was like, we can do this. I know we can get maybe some money from something. We really believed that we could do it because we really wanted to tell a story of the neighborhood and kind of how we live as New Yorkers. Not like a lot of New York stuff is a little different. It's either like the saddest in the world that the Sappies are making, which is great, or it's like Sex in the City. And there's a little bit of an in-between there. There's a lot of people that live here and have grown up here and have been raised here or raised themselves here and have their own families that we don't get to see that side that much.
The weirdest thing, honestly, is that we pulled it off. Thinking about the whole team, it doesn't surprise me. But in the moment, it was like, we can't have pickups, we can't do reshoots. This is like, what we get is what we get. And I think there was one scene in the original script that we weren't able to shoot, literally just one. Yeah. With the dollar bill.
Yeah.
And that was to this day, I'm like, no, we really did it. And the most unexpected was probably that we got Eric Roth to not only mentor us through this process and give us the most incredible script notes anyone could maybe ever give. And he really nurtured this and held our hands through this. And he's been offered, so many roles throughout his career to be on screen. And he has been like, nope, I'm good. And by some miracle,
he's like, yeah, I'll do it.
He's like, I'll be your Franklin. And we got him on a plane and we got him out to New York and shot him in and out in a half a day.
By noon. We started at 7 a.m. He was done by noon. We were like, dude, and then he just graced our set. And it was really cool to watch him and Richard Price talk to each other, and Tony Drazen, because they were all these three artists from, the 90s, 70s, 80s. When they started to realize who each other were, they were like, oh, wait, what? They were hyped. It was cool to watch.
There was a moment where I was sitting in one of the apartments that was our set with them and watching Eric and watching Richard, and Tony's in the hallway, and Tony knows who everybody is.
Tony Drazen, who plays Lauren, he's directed a bunch of movies. He did Zebrahead back in the 90s, and he's just a great filmmaker and a great artist. He's like one of those classic artists.
He really is.
They talk to you like an artist. So it was cool to watch these classic New Yorkers sit there and do their thing in front of the beginning of Broadway Danny Rose right in front of us.
It was very awesome. It was very special.
It was cool. Oh, it totally changed.
Every day?
Every day. Yeah. And we had 20 days to shoot it. And we were in one apartment building and we were on the street for a little bit of time, but it was up and down the flights of stairs. And you could tell when things weren't working and when things were hitting a roadblock or the scene wasn't leading into what we wanted it to be. And so we would just change it on the fly constantly. One thing about Mo is we've been friends for so long that I kind of was able to put him through the ringer and then kind of look the other way and then was like, oh, I'll just talk to him after we're done shooting and see if he's okay then. So it would change on the fly for a myriad of really different reasons every day.
We treated this, our apartment, as a production office. It's a pre-production office. And the floor that we're on now was kind of like, the businessy side of it, the contracts, all wheelings and dealings. And downstairs was like the creative zone. And every time we wrapped, before we started shooting everything, it was like, down in the creative zone, you could hear the laughter coming up the staircase. You could hear the going back and forth. And it was a daily thing. And it was I think a great part of the process was that we were so flexible and so willing to assess as we went, and just wanted to make sure we had the greatest product by the end of it. And without revisiting the script, I don't know that would have happened.
That's such a good point too. There was a time too when we realizing that we're in this sweaty hallway in the middle of summer and everyone's kind of mad and not mad, but just tired and sweaty. And our cinematographer Jackson, who's just a gift from God, is like holding the camera. He always operated his own camera, and then we're just like running up and down. We would be like, man, this is really dramatic. Wait a minute, we gotta pause and remember this is a full-blown comedy.
Yeah.
Like, it's a goofball comedy. This isn't like poverty porn, or like, we're not being like, look how poor people live. We're just showing a day in the life of what would happen if a bunch of knuckleheads like ourselves were a little stupider and made some really bad decisions. And we were like, wait, we have to remember that we just want to be goofballs and we want to be funny. Working was like a stunt coordinator. We were so lucky with the stunt guy we got and the stunt coordinator we got. And it was hard to figure out stunts and stuff. I didn't really know anything about that. I just wanted to look cool. This gotta look cool, man. It's gotta look like a real fight. That, and then we ran into some trouble with the scene with me and Mo in the bedroom. We wanted it to not be so dramatic, and we wanted it to be still funny because we were like, man, we gotta stick our tone. Zoe was on set that day, and she really did kind of sit there and not let us out of the room until we found something that was kind of like, that was working, and she was persistent, and she was like, I think the crew kind of hates me right now. I was like, don't worry about that. Like, let's just keep going. You're helping us. And it was really cool that she was just like, hey, this isn't working. Let's make this work. And that was a challenging thing because then I was being mini directed for like half of a day by her, who was an old friend. And I was like, it was cool. We were kind of doing it. And then Mo was so susceptible to everything. And it was just, that was a challenging thing though, because right in the beginning, we were like, I don't think this is going to work.
She really did come in and save the day on that one. She helped.
That particular day, we got lucky with her.
She helped so much, and she was like, I love you guys, but it's a boys club on this set. And to have Zoe there and like be able to give her insight and it was coming from a place of like, I've done this before. I know what I'm doing. And like, she had a touch that I think, I love you, but that there was just a little, there was a little more to it, and she's killed it. She helped so much in that scene. The billboard was also a hard one.
Oh my gosh.
The billboard was like an uphill battle every step of the way. We didn't know how we were going to pull it off. We knew we had to. It was just like reaching out to dozens of anyone from Calvin Klein, anyone from the agency that owns the actual billboard, the photographer of the models, the agents. Like, it was reaching out to anyone and everyone who might have a connection to help us figure out, when does the billboard turn over? Are we allowed to film it? We needed that payoff so bad. And
everyone at Calvin Klein rules.
Oh my gosh.
They were so cool with us. They were like, here's when it is. Go do it then. Knock it out. And the construction workers that were setting it up were awesome. And I was like, I will love Calvin Klein forever. I've also always loved that billboard. Yeah. And right now the billboard isn't there. It's
covered in scaffolding.
I've never not seen the billboard there. And it's so weird that it's just not there right now. Our little movie has, I don't know, kind of an homage to something that we all see every day.
And I have to shout out to Fariel Gobashari and Lila Staub, who I was in DC with my dad and with Fariel, and I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Like, you guys, what? Like, I've reached out to everyone. I've hit every roadblock. And Fariel was like, you might know Lila, who used to work with Gucci, and I was like, oh my God, I know her. I have her email. I know her well. And it was like the missing piece that helped connect all of it. We made it happen.
That was looking for a little while that it wasn't gonna happen.
We were like, do we just like CGI? Like, what do we do? How do we do this?
And to bring it back to that being the fight sequence days, we had to go scout the billboard that day at like 3 a.m. And then the fight was later at like 8 a.m. So we were doing all this, and it was just like a day of like 22 hours. It was bananas. Early on, when she was organizing financing, some financing fell through. And I was, at the bar and, doing bartenders and kind of was just losing hope. And she never stopped. She kept pursuing until she found not only like the guy who was going to give the money and make the movie possible, but like a dude who like
a real partner. Brian
Healy, who's the executive producer on the movie, came in here, and for her able to secure the money, yes, but to secure him, who then championed for us throughout the entire shoot, post the shoot, every single little thing, even like to the point where we're getting to South by, and we're, a lot of this stuff costs a lot of money, takes a lot of money. It's really hard to promote indie films. It's hard to even do a festival lifestyle when we're just like a bunch of New York kids who are like old and poor. She never quit. She secured financing, and then she really fought for the cast that we wanted, as well as our executive producer. There wasn't a lot of people to fight, but in getting those actors that we love, you know, that we needed for our movie, that we envisioned, it was persistent in a way where I was like, someone's gonna yell at you a lot and hate you forever. And it was kind of like, I don't care right now. We've really got to get this done. It's not no shame, but it's like when someone tells you no, she's like, that's not me, no. You know, and you hear producers do that. Of course, that's what they do. But it was weird to see it. It was crazy to see, like, they said no 15 times over, even like a permit. And she was like, that's crazy. No, don't worry. Even securing the building. You know, like it looked like for one point we were going to like try to build a set, and that would have ruined everything. But we were like, if we can't get the build, we got the. It's like an accumulation.
We might have had like some cash in our back pockets, and as the tenants came by, kind of, you know, sniffed around.
Yeah, they look at you and they go, all right, what's this? Where's more?
Yeah, they're like, oh, you know, it's really, really loud today, really inconvenient today. I'm like, I'm sure it is. The first thing you'd be walking into is probably laughter, like a lot of laughter, whether was from C Squared or boom mic operator, or like Jackson, our DP, or like everyone was laughing all the time. And it was usually because Ben was just cracking jokes and keeping it light. And then you would probably notice very quickly thereafter that it was a huge collaboration. There was no voice that wasn't listened to. There was no one who was left out of anything. We had people like helping, like, you know, people who are not that department or that role jumping in and helping anyway and wearing different hats. And when something wasn't working, and like Jackson, our VP, wasn't afraid to tell Ben, like, hey, don't know about this. And instead of being like, hey, I'm the director, like he was like, okay, well, tell me why not. And they would talk it out. And Jackson was usually right the couple of times that this happened.
Right every time. And there would be moments where I would be embarrassed because I would be like, dude, that would be like young director. I felt like I was like 20. I was like, what if we came out of here and we zoomed in, and he would just be like, yeah, we ain't gonna do that. We don't want to do that. That's not. You think about that. And I was just like, yeah, you're probably right. It's probably lame, right? Yeah, cool. Yeah. But like he was right, because it was like this overabundance, and for better or worse, it was a collaborative set, I think, from everybody, because
it killed me some days.
It killed all of us.
Some days I was like, you guys, we gotta quiet the room. We gotta focus here. We have every minute cost something. I think the finished product, we did it the right way, and the only way that we could have done it. You curate a very safe, very fun, very involved environment. And that's not to say there weren't some hard moments.
Oh, like, you know when you're watching like an Adam Sandler movie and all of a sudden he's like, "God, he starts yelling at everybody. I'm capable of that. You know, where I'm like, I'm the happiest guy ever. Oh my God. And you want to rip your hair out and you want to yell because everything means so much. And you're thinking this is the only time I'm ever going to be able to do this.
Yeah. There were a couple hallway meltdowns, but we talked through them and
for sure. You know what you realize is that the biggest lesson I've ever learned? Don't insult the crew. Be nice to the crew always, because the crew is your lifeblood.
They'll make or break.
And you gotta watch how your temperament is, because you don't want to come across as a scumbag who's unappreciative. And that's never what it is. It's just, you gotta make sure that we're always, and I did learn a lot of that from Zoe. She was really good with her crew and her cast. And I was like, I gotta remember that shit. We had a big scene in the beginning of the film where Bunny's gonna run through the streets and he's got blood all over him. And we had this guy, I think his name was Joey.
I think his name was.
And he was on like a skateboard that he like moved himself. Yeah, it wasn't a skateboard, but it was like
electric.
And he kind of, with Jackson, our cinematographer, he kind of orchestrated a way that the shot should be, and we were shutting down streets, and it was all of us out there
through Tompkins
Square Park, up and down, Clinton Street, Rivington Street, Allen Street, and we were just trying to figure out how to make it. And that was the most adapt by like minute by minute.
That was like a whole day of adapting.
Yeah, and cars were coming by. In New York, you don't have room to piss people off. No. And hair trigger tempers, and we also have a lot of people in our crew that. In our cast that will talk back to someone if they start yelling at us. So it was kind of an avoiding hardships. And that was a really adapting on the fly move is that day on the streets where we were like, all right, let's not pop off on anybody. Let's not anybody pop off on us. Let's get to the park. Let's just do this. And the guy who was shooting it was really like, we're gonna have to change a lot.
I was gonna say, I agree 100% with your answer, but I also have a different answer. The scene on the rooftop.
Oh yeah.
That we had made the decision very early on that we were not going to shoot on the rooftop, that we were going to keep it contained in within the walls of the apartment building itself, keep it literally, other than maybe 3 scenes where we're out front, where it's really inside this building in the different units. We were doing this really great scene between Bobby and Bunny, and it was in the hallway initially, and it wasn't working the way that we wanted it. It didn't look the way that we wanted it to look. It was falling flat, and it felt claustrophobic. I was at the production office, which was a half a block away from set, and I get a phone call, and he's like, we're going up on the roof. And I'm like, the you are? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, there's all these rules.
I'm like, wait. We need to rig them. We need to do this. There's no fencing. There's no boundary. There's no nothing. Like, what are you talking about? You're going up to the roof. And I dug my heels in like I did. I've never dug my heels in on anything like that. And he talked me into it. And I was like, all right, well, then we just have to do it the right way. And we got our together, and we got up onto the roof, and it's a beautiful shot between the two of them. And I'm so glad that we got it. But it was
literally like holding the phone, like, is everybody okay? We're going on the roof. All right, we can go on the roof. It was like, she was like, it doesn't really work that way. But it was.
I'm like, there's
that was
safety
an adapt
protocol.
on the fly day. That was
the serious.
That was actually the perfect example of an adapt on the fly moment. It really is, because that was what we had to do.
Yeah.